Last book I'm going to do. This is my Black History superhero book.
Okay.
The superhero I'm doing is Wonder Man.
Oh, okay.
It'll all make sense when I do it. Okay. All right. So I'm doing Wonder Man, but don't worry. There was a black dude on the cover. So technically it counts.
Okay.
Now, the reason I'm doing this book, because I got to go in a little bit detail about Wonder Man. Okay, so I talked about Wonder Man last season. I went into all kind of detail about his backstory and stuff like that. I'm not going to recap it. What I will do is put a link over here, one of these, to our other podcast where we did that. So I ain't gonna do that. But I left out a very specific detail. Wonder Man is a zombie.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember I told you that he died and came back to life? Well, that's how he came back to life. But here's the thing. Since the Comics Code Authority was in the 70s, had like some stiff rules on it, they couldn't call him a zombie. He was a Zuvembie.
Okay.
I don't know if that sounds familiar to or not like that,
It
but
does
yeah.
not.
Okay, so that's how they got around the Comics Code Authority. So he's not a zombie, he's a Zuvembie. Just letting you know that. So we're going to go forward with that. So they get around that. But we know what it is. So yeah. Now remember I said Wonder Man died. So this is actually the first issue where he came back. But he just woke up and he's like lumbering and shit like that. And he's pointing at Venom, stole my mind. Because like I said, Vision's memory is the same as Wonder Man. So Wonder Man just pointing at him like, you stole my mind. So he's about to attack Vision and then he just passes out. So yeah. And they're like, I don't know what the fuck happened here. So, they got the people here because they just announced their new roster and stuff like that. So that's why they got this big press conference out here. And now they see Wonder Man's popping up like, and when he dead, why is he back? And they basically just take him into the house and, while everybody's standing there. So they visit him, stuff like that. They were like, yeah, Wonder Man's, he's alive again. We don't know how. We don't know how he came back, but he's back. So yeah. Oh, Beast, I'm saying. Beast just joined the Avengers. So yeah, I think he just joined the Avengers like 2 issues ago. So yeah. And meanwhile, they're investigating what's going on. And this is Jarvis. Jarvis is a dude.
Yeah, so, he's a butler. Yeah.
He's a butler. Yeah. The reason he's not a butler in the MCU because they thought he was too close to Alfred. So they decided to change it, turn to an AI and shit like that. But yeah. Anyway, he gets pissed off, kick this reporter off the premises and shuts the door on him and stuff like that. So they're visiting, seeing what's going on. They were like, he's alive, but there's nobody there. They like the engine's running, but there's nobody driving. So yeah. So we don't know what the fuck's going on. And that's when he kind of wakes up and still don't know what the fuck's going on. And they're like, it's like some kind of damn monster movie. I don't know what the hell going on with this one. He just says some weird shit. Shadow, silver shadow, reaching hand. And like, that didn't make any damn sense. And that's when Wanda just like, I'm tired of this. I'm going to go investigate. So Wanda just goes outside and she's like, I'm going to find some answers. She goes in and she sees the press conference outside and the paparazzi and stuff like that waiting outside. And she just does some hex magic and just hurricanes everybody the fuck up out of there. It's like it always him. So because Wonder Man was in a crate when he was delivered to them, so she decides to examine the crate. Now she could give it to Tony and have him running through his machine, shit like that, and find out where it came from. She's like, nah, I ain't doing all this shit. She been training with Agatha, so she tried to use her magic powers from there. So she does some magic whammy jammy and blah, blah, blah. And she gets this vision of this fire and this ritual and people dancing around and stuff like that. And also a swamp. She like, New Orleans. He's in New Orleans. That's how you know it's a black book. They're going to New Orleans. So yeah. So she's just like, okay, Wanda, what you find out? Like, I know what he is. He's one of the Walking Dead. A Zuvembie. So did Robert Kirkman steal it from them? Maybe. I don't know. So, yeah. So they decide to get on the Quinjet and head to New Orleans. So yeah. So this first time they got Wonder Man light up right there and they're sitting there talking what's going on. They're just like, okay, this wish it. Like I said, the Comics Code Authority, like I said, we're in the 70s now in this book, but in the 60s, they would not allow any supernatural, any monsters wouldn't allow that. But they started being relaxed a little bit more. So now you start seeing like Morbius, Tomb of Dracula, Blade, Ghost Rider, shit like that. So that's when Beast is like, you think he really is a Zuvembie? Whatever the fuck they is, like you tell me. And that's when Captain America is like, man, I fought a vampire back in World War II. We talked about it in Blood Hunt, but like that. And then Iron Man talk about, I just teamed up with Werewolf by Night the other day. There's some weird shit going on. Matter of fact, Beast, you want to talk, you look in the mirror. And Beast is like, man, fuck you, man. He doesn't say it because he want to get fired, but he says it in his head, but yeah. So they finally land in New Orleans. But Wanda's saying there's some kind of mystic thing over here, so can't pinpoint it. But we need to go into a French Quarter and just ask around, see what's going on. So they go in the French Quarter. Eli, have you ever been to New Orleans before?
I have not, no.
It's like a whole fucking different planet from there, but we'll talk about that later. So they decided to go down the French Quarter. They look and she was like, okay, that guy, I saw him in my dream. The guy in the hat right there. So Captain America's like, Avengers assemble, let's go get them. So they ran at them, and all you see is a whole bunch of dudes in New Orleans seeing the Avengers running at them, and it's a whole bunch of pimps, drug dealers, robbers, thieves. They all think they were them. Notice they all black, but we're not gonna get into that. Yeah. So everybody takes off running because they don't know who the Avengers are coming after. Meanwhile, the guy they're really after just like, well, I'm gonna sneak out the back and cause a diversion. So he sneaks out. But that's when Wasp and Yellow Jacket, at the time it's Yellow Jacket, but it's Hank Pym, they decided to fly around him, buzz around him, tie his shoes up, trip some stuff like that. And he's like, you'll never get any answer out of me. I'll never talk. And that's when Wanda's like, okay, everybody back the fuck up. I got him. And then she does something that whispers something to him. And all you hear him say is, Lamort Bayou, Lamort Bayou. They're like, okay, we're going to go there. So there's a swamp in New Orleans. They're just going through the swamp. And yeah, but they don't know where to go because it's like a big ass swamp they don't know. And eventually, Wonder Man just wakes up and starts walking. He's like, coming, my master, I'm walking towards you. They're like, well, let's just follow him. So they follow him to where, and they see the same ritual that Wanda saw in her vision, and they walk to him, and who do they see? This guy in a chicken mask. Okay. Also with an upside down cross.
Oh,
so
shit.
Obviously, he's the bad guy. That's what Tony's like, well, obviously it is. So yeah. And you see a whole bunch of naked people dancing and shit like that. And you see Zuvembies rising up from the ground. So don't want to get copyrighted. So yeah, don't want to get canceled. So they walk towards it, and the dude in chicken costume is just like, what the fuck you doing here? Your mission was supposed to be in New York because our leader, our master, told you to have a mission. You want to know who the master is? We know. I read earlier from this one, his master is a living laser. The living laser is really behind all this bullshit, but that's nothing to do with here. He like, so says the Black Talon. Now, who's the Black Talon? The Black Talon is a Brother Voodoo villain.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Brother Voodoo had a rogues gallery, but yeah, there you go. So that's the Black Talon. He's there right now. Then Avengers like, okay, well, we got our guy. Let's beat the shit out of him. Avengers assemble, attack, or whatever the fuck like that. So they all jump in there. And you got the Avengers versus a bunch of cult leaders and zombies. Zuvembies. Sorry about that. And just kind of beat the shit out of them. You know, they're like, this is nothing. These guys are nobody, whatever like that. And Vision just stand there. He's just like, why should I move when y'all can fight my battle for me? He didn't even stand. He just lets them just turn into a ghost in, and then Wanda's just hexing everybody, shit like that. They're hitting Black Talon, shit like that. Because he's just a regular dude. You know, he's just in a chicken costume. He's just a regular dude. So he runs off, and he realized he can tap into the voodoo spirit. So he calls Damballa, the serpent god. So even though he's a regular dude, he can tap into the powers of Damballa, and then he can hit the Avengers like that. The Avengers, the Zuvembies, the cult people, everybody get knocked out at the same time. Everybody go. So yeah. And he was like, well, that was easy, you know, except Wanda. Wanda's the only person that's not knocked down. She's like, nah, you got to do harder than that to get me. She's like, oh, I will. I was actually taking it easy on them. I can really fight you because you magic on magic. Let's go. You know, so it hits her again. But you're like, I noticed you're tied into another demon. My powers come from me. So yes, you hit him. You're like, it don't even fucking matter. Hits him again, and as one's like, okay, he's attached to a dark god, but hold on, a dark god. Why don't I take this fire that's in this ritual and just throw it into the darkness? And apparently, it takes out Damballa just that easy. So now he's exorcised from Damballa, and now he has no power. He's just a dude. And Wanda versus him, pretty easy. So yeah, he gets tied up and shit like that, and Wanda leaves the team because she realized it was too hard for her to fight that guy. She needs to do more training. So she leaves the Avengers. So, yeah, that's the book. So, like I said, chicken dude, black book. So,